Hey YouTube, I just want to do a quick video here. Turned out to not be quick in the making. I actually had to learn a lot of new editing skills to make this happen. But, as you know, we've been playing Final Fantasy II on the Famicom here. And we're nowhere close to done, so this isn't a review or anything. I just wanted to explore the differences in the remakes, because I have 4 versions of this game in my own collection. I've got the original Famicom, and then for the English releases, I have Final Fantasy Origins on the PlayStation. I have Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls on the Game Boy Advance. And I have the 20th anniversary PSP release. Unfortunately, no case for the Game Boy and PSP versions, but that tends to happen with portable games. So let's go ahead and cut to the first 20-ish minutes of the game, just to show the differences. And these 20 minutes show a lot of differences. Actually, it's kind of surprising. But if you don't want to watch that because it is 20-ish minutes, just go ahead and skip to whatever the time over here is. Alright, welcome back from watching or skipping to here, where I'm going to talk about the differences I noticed. So, if you're asking yourself what version to play, it is going to entirely come down to what is most convenient for you and what kind of experience you want. The current prices for each of these versions comes down to around $10, so price isn't going to be an issue with any of these. So, in my experience, the Final Fantasy Origins on PlayStation is the closest you're going to get to the original Famicom mechanics. The irritating as all get out leveling system is present here, almost completely. You can still lose stats, although it's not as common as in the Famicom version, and the extreme length of time it takes to level a skill is present. In both the PlayStation and Famicom versions, it takes approximately 100 swings of a sword to go from level 1 in sword to level 2 in sword. And that is honestly the biggest hang-up I have with this game, is the irritating leveling. And the fact that you can lose stats. In the playthrough here on this channel, Maria, who I've named Hera, is my main magic caster. But that's not all she does. She also uses a bow and arrow to inflict some pretty serious and significant damage. The problem is, if you use the bow too much, you'll lose your magic abilities, both black and white. And then if you use too much white magic, you'll lose your black magic ability as well as your physical abilities. If you use black magic too much, you'll lose your physical abilities as well as your white magic ability. So trying to build a character that can do these things is a real irritation. It's technically possible, but it requires careful management. Now, starting with the Game Boy Advance version, it's a lot easier to accomplish this because they no longer take away stats you've already earned. And also, starting in the Game Boy Advance version, you no longer have to be hit to build HP. Those kind of skill and stat progressions aren't as heavy and dependent. It's still there. Getting hit more often in the Game Boy and PSP releases will more quickly advance your HP stats. But it isn't a requirement to build your HP stat. It will grow naturally over time, which is really nice because, like in the Famicom version right now, Maria can kill herself with her bow and arrow. So it takes a concerted effort to move her to the front line, swap her out with a weapon she's not proficient in, which over time will be something that no longer exists, in order to have her hit herself to build up HP. Now, visually, all of these remakes are based on the Final Fantasy Origins, with cleanup and changes made depending on the system. Now, in my opinion, the PSP version is the best looking and best sounding version of the game. Unfortunately, this video won't do that justice because the PlayStation and the PSP version were both analog signals captured over composite for the PlayStation and component 480p for the PSP, which isn't bad, but you can see that they looked a lot fuzzier than the Famicom and the Game Boy Advance captures, and that's because those were done on a Retron 5. But I do say, if you have the ability, go ahead and get the PSP version because it is the easiest, and it's the one that's going to give you the least number of headaches when playing it, as well as it being just a visually stunning game. Now, both the PlayStation and the PSP version have weird cinematic that attempts to explain what's going on, but there's no dialogue, and it makes the characters look more badass than they are. If you remember playing any Square Enix games in the mid to late 90s, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All their cutscenes did this. They still look pretty good. Obviously, the PlayStation 1 is going to be fuzzy on modern TVs, but the PSP still holds up. You're losing some information because they took the same cinematic from the PS1 version and just cut it down with black bars to make it fit the screen. I'll have that cinematic from the PS1 at the end of this video if you're interested. So, what are your thoughts? I personally recommend the PSP version. If you followed my advice from the Final Fantasy 1 review and you picked up the Game Boy Advance version of Final Fantasy 1, well, you don't have to worry about anything. You've already got a pretty decent port. It's just going to be in between the PSP and the PlayStation release as far as difficulty and leveling systems go. So, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know which version is your favorite, or if you think this game should be skipped altogether. Over and out. Watch 6.